Your mom can't even afford a normal house. I punched that kid. I knocked him down. And then in my cheerleading skirt and past all the varsity basketball players, I stomped out of my high school gym, went to my car, and sobbed. This was the only time I'd ever hit someone. It was true. Our home wasn't normal. Most of the kids at Platte Valley had lived for generations in large homes on their families' farms and ranches. At the time, we were living above a garage my uncle owned. My mom had put a twin bed in the front room for me. There were multicolored glass bottles in the window that would bend the morning light. A metal railing led down to an alley where it smelled like cigarettes, hot asphalt, oil from the surrounding garages, sugar and fried dough from the Dunkin' Donuts next door. I hate the question, "Where are you from?" because I don't know the answer. I was born in Salida. I've lived in Salida for 22 years now as an adult. It's a place that has been personally challenging and sometimes painful for me. Salida is where I've raised my own 3 kids. It's an amazing community for that. But this is not where I'm from. From birth to age 2, I lived in a small place on Hunt Street and came here every summer and some holidays throughout my childhood. My older brother was with my dad and I was with my mom. We'd get swapped, rarely in the same place at the same time. His room would become my temporary room. He would leave me gifts and sweet notes, a string of common experience that connected us. My mom, being single, always struggled to make ends meet. We moved for better jobs, neighborhoods, or schools, for cheaper rent, to escape bad relationships and situations, for change and new opportunities. I lived in 23 different places before I graduated high school, 37 total in my life so far. My childhood memories are blurry and fragmented. It's hard to hold a memory when the place is uncertain. Where am I from? From my mom? I'm from Mars? Sometimes that feels true. My mom crafted a home wherever we landed, made any place cute and cozy, and gave me my own space. She created beauty wherever we were, the epitome of resourcefulness, simplicity. Home is something I'm still searching for. It is all places and nowhere in particular. It's a feeling. The feeling of being content no matter where I land.
Since moving to Salida, I have built a home and a family. Here I was, a Patagonia-wearing teleskier, an aspiring mountain biker, swaggering into a sleepier Salida. It was 2009. I'd rented for a year, but the house had a leaky roof, and I needed to get out. I was nearing 30. My friends in town were buying houses, and I thought I probably should too. Having a home was a real need for me. In my 20s, I had lived bits of a vagabond life, teaching outdoors while living in a tent and out of my car. I was hoping to settle in Salida, which meant finding a house under $200,000. At the time, I was buying with my then boyfriend, so there were 2 meager incomes. My teacher's salary wasn't the highest, but it was consistent. We found a house in Little Italy on West 2nd, but it was a little more than we had budgeted. It was spacious at the time with 2 bedrooms, a full bathroom, and kitchen, enough for 2 people and a German Shepherd, an ideal first home. Built in 1889 for railroad workers, it needed a lot of love. If the uninsulated walls and wooden pallet floors could talk, they might share the stories of the men who moved from Italy into the one-room house, how their families moved here and they put walls up to separate into rooms to create a home, how they didn't have a bathroom or kitchen, how they cooked over the wood stove and used the outhouse in what is now my alley. Just like a fairy tale, if we could buy the house, we would live happily ever after. We did buy the house, but we did not live happily ever after. With some negotiating, I was able to keep the house. Then it was just me and the dog in the house until I met my husband and stepson. Since we met, we have transformed the yard to have our wedding in it and added a bedroom to the house and a son to the family. At times, it feels like we need to make a reservation for the bathroom as we are outgrowing our house, but we have created spaces to play games, places to read, and porches to sit and talk. All this makes 819 West 2nd home. I feel so lucky to have bought when I did, or I would not have been able to stay in Salida and build this family. I still wear Patagonia, teleski, and mountain bike, but I also find the adventure in being home and improving our house.
Many of us live on the edge. A lot of people are only a paycheck or two away from being homeless. But it's not usually that straightforward because many of them struggle with housing insecurity in between living in their homes and being out on the streets. There are a lot of reasons they have this struggle. Losing a partner or a job, or suffering a terrible illness or injury. Reasons that could happen to any of us at any time. It's uncertainty about their future that causes much of the misery and their hardship. Uncertainty is a foundation fear. It can't be reduced to a more basic human emotion. It was this fear that made our ancestors run for the trees when they heard rustling in the tall savanna grass. Uncertainty scared the hell out of them then too. I am blessed. By choice, I've spent a lot of time without a home, traveling the world. At 71 years old, I don't remember ever being afraid of not having a place to sleep, even though everywhere I travel to, I see homeless people. I've seen some barely out of the cold rain, sleeping in the sidewalks of Athens. Families living in their cars because a parent lost their house gambling in Las Vegas. And others in lean-tos just on the other side of a wall from wealthy people in Mexico. This kind of misery can make anyone capable of doing bad things. Seeing children, elderly, and ill people suffering every day from lack of having a home is heart-wrenching. Yet many choose not to see them anymore. At times, knowing that I can't help everyone, I've ignored these unfortunate souls too, even though it disturbs me every time. There has always been a disparity between needing help and being well off, between wanting to help and wanting to ignore. The difference now is that those that want to help can support local housing security programs. The compassionate solution to homelessness is to relieve people of their housing distress before they become homeless. Especially since now, hardworking people in our communities are at risk of no longer being able to afford to live where they work. Invest in your community's health and well-being. Take a stand for housing equity, because keeping our local workers living where they are employed helps to keep our communities stable, safer, and allows everyone to thrive instead of living on the edge.
Life is a team effort. I have always labeled myself a team player, helping others and working in groups, a born leader, always looking for ways to assist friends and family in making their lives better. I volunteer for everything. I make time for everyone. I became a counselor so I could help people professionally every day. I want to be a light for others. But one day, the switch was flipped. My light went out. I was the one in need of help, and I resisted it. I am strong and independent. I was too ashamed to ask for help. I would consider this a weak move. I could figure it out on my own. I had the skills to do this. I just needed to find the answer. Being vulnerable is what I worked on with clients, but now I needed to be vulnerable. An internal conflict bubbled out of me. How could I help others if I was not capable of helping myself? At 45, I found myself in a situation I had never been in. I needed a place to live. I had always owned a home, but now needed to sell the one I was in. My 2 adolescent sons, 2 giant dogs, Fluffy Cat, and I were about to become homeless in Salida, where prices were going up and availability was going down. I suddenly needed the first month's rent, last month's rent, and a security deposit. It felt impossible. I realized this was more than I was capable of. Starring in my one-woman show was no longer an option. If this move was going to happen, I needed to reach out. I needed my tribe. I needed to be honest with myself. I called everyone I knew and told everyone I saw that we needed a place to live. And importantly, I admitted that I had to let others in to move forward. I recognized who was in my corner, and I finally understood who could help me during my struggle. Others. Surprisingly, life's bumpy road had led me to a new light. Things fell into place, my internal conflict dissolved, and my path became illuminated. In 9 short days, we packed, cleaned, moved into our rental, and put the house on the market. Friends old and new showed up. Community members went the extra mile, and new housing programs suddenly became available. The impossible became possible.
The rivers of time flowing onward around each new bend, creating new insights and challenges. A prestigious Victorian ornate brick home built in 1890, as well as a brick rectangular outbuilding containing living quarters, tack room, cold storage, and a 2-seater outhouse, would become the Cash Lock home in 1944. Leo and Marianne Locke eventually became the house's caretakers. Green grass, hollyhocks, lilacs, and sweet peas flourished, as well as Nancy and Dorothy. The smell of homemade bread prepared on the wood cook stove wafted through the neighborhood, welcoming children and adults. As time goes by, the eddies of life ensue, and seasons change, as did I. In 1985, I became a struggling entrepreneur of the pantry, natural foods, as well as a single mom, finding extra work so I could survive and afford a place to rent. In 1987, I became Buena Vista's Citizen of the Year, thanks to my sister nominating me for my Hug holiday. The next change of life around the bend was totally devastating. My sister was killed in a car crash. The eddies of life have a way of changing course and bringing new twists and surprises. My double blessings were born. Shortly thereafter, the rapids of life appear again. God had always provided affordable housing for me, but this time, what was I going to do? Divorced with 3 beautiful daughters, where was I going to live? The pantry was prospering. Rough waters once again appear. my rock, my peace during the storms of life, my stability, whom I had depended on for so many years. My mother died. Praise God, I now had my family home, but at a cost. The rivers of life have a way of refreshing you. At 47, I had a baby boy. Like my daughters and niece, this teenage boy brings home homeless street people. Me too. Maybe for a night, week, or more. My majestic, locally landmarked home has seen many generations come and go. The fourth generation is now relishing in this historic home by necessity due to lack of affordable housing. If I hadn't inherited this home, I couldn't have survived living in Buena Vista. The years have taken a toll on this once grand Victorian home. What will happen next? Renovation, preservation, demolition, restoration.
I never wanted to be a mother, honestly. I had plans, big ones. And the way I saw it, being a mother meant all those things that I wanted wouldn't be possible. Then, oops, pregnant. And I hated it. I really hated it. This thing growing inside me, taking over my body, felt like a horror movie. I was eating weird stuff. Sleeping was impossible. I could barely control my bodily functions, and oh my God, I felt so fat. But then there were those quiet moments, just you and me, and you'd kick happily while I talked or sang to you in my ever growing giant belly. And then you arrived, and everything changed. I never knew I was capable of a love like that. It filled me in ways I'd never imagined. I'm still petrified about being mother, but I was so filled with joy and hope that the doubts and the fears almost melted away. And now I think about you and your brother every day. Reliving those memories brings a smile to my face until I remember once again, you're gone. Almost 3 years now. 3 years since I've seen your faces, heard your laughter, wiped your tears, felt your warm hugs. I even miss your tantrums and your sass. Reminiscing about life before, I wonder about old things that any mother wonders. But without being able to see you or hear from you, it just tortures my soul. I've missed you so much. I want to spend time and get to know all about you. But mostly, I just want to hug you and never let you go. I want to bond with you and make that bond last forever. Be there for you and witness all the possibilities and wonderment in front of you. But now I don't even know if I'll ever even know you again. You know, I'm not the only parent removed from their children. It's become pretty common now that the family court system is sought to make one parent a villain and the other a martyr. Divorce is sad, but it isn't a crime. So why was I and so many other parents treated like criminals? Children need both their parents, so why did they vilify me and try to erase me from your life? I worked harder than I ever thought possible to make sure that you didn't have to choose between your parents and lose either one of us. But I lost everything. And I blame myself every day that you're not with me anymore, even though I know it's not my fault. The court said I deserved what I got, Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. But you sure didn't. The noise and the chaos of my children has been replaced with my shadow of emptiness and silence. And the song Good Morning Heartache is the only thing that echoes in my brain. If I'm not your mother, who am I? Love and misses, Mom.